This week on Industry Relations, Rob and I asked the question, who's your daddy? Let's go. This is Industry Relations, a podcast at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson.
This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Cotality. CoreLogic is now Cotality. Same trusted technology and data, just a new name that reflects the mission to unify property professionals, strengthen industry relationships, and drive innovation globally. Cotality powers tools you already know and love, like Matrix, the gold standard for MLS systems. There's One Home for agents who want to give their clients a more personalized collaboration experience. MLS Touch keeps you connected to the MLS no matter where you are. Realist gives you the insights to stand out as a local expert and tools to fill your funnel with high-value leads. The new One Homeowner platform keeps you top of mind and delivers value long after the deal is done. Learn more at Cotality.com. And if your MLS is powered by Cotality, don't miss Camp Cotality for MLS staff and leadership this June. It's a perfect place to connect, learn, and see what's next. My thanks to Cotality for sponsoring Industry Relations.
Hi everybody, and welcome to an episode of Industry Relations, which we're messing around, man. We decided we're going to do it as a Twitter Live as well, which potentially means we're going to have like chat in the live stream. I've never done this before, so I think we're learning, Greg.
Can somebody tell us if somebody put something in the chat if they see us?
Yeah, I guess. But either way, we're going to record our episode.
We're recording anyway, so. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing good. How are you? It's
good.
Yeah. I forgot the intro. My co-host, the fabulous Greg Robertson.
Hola, Rob.
Hola. Oh man. So we decided kind of the last minute to try and do this as a live because we've never done it. We saw it as an option. We said, let's play around with it because we knew what we were going to talk about, so we didn't have to do a lot of prep, you know.
Right.
And we'll see. All right, I think we are getting some people. We'll see. But no one's going to be here because we gave no one any notice.
Yeah, we gave no one any notice. Well,
So,
I thought I saw it trending on Twitter, so I thought maybe
Zillow is trending on Twitter. So clearly we know what we're going to talk about, Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you set the stage?
Do you want me to start off with,
Yes, please. What happened? Start with the news.
Okay, I was in Dallas.
Yeah.
And I was attending the 1,000-watt brand and marketing and branding summit. And Brian Barrero was interviewing Nikia Wright, the NAR CEO. And at the end of her presentation of that interview, she got what only could be described as a standing ovation.
Okay.
Is that what you wanted to talk about?
Yes, that's what I want to talk about. So you've heard her now in person.
Yes, I have.
Did you secure her appearance on these relations?
I've not secured her appearance on it.
Okay.
But, I mean, again, just wanted to throw this before we get into everything because we thought whatever. No other speaker, no other person there at that entire thing for 2 days got the enthusiasm of response than Nikia Wright at the 1,000-watt brand and marketing.
So you got to see her in person. How would you like? Is she great? You know, was she wonderful?
I think she did a great job. Yeah,
okay.
I mean,
what was the topic?
Just like, I think Brian started off like, have you been doing anything lately? I mean, all the things there, and just talking about how tough of a gig it is. Not tough of a gig, just she didn't feel that way, but like what's going on at NAR, and she gave kind of the update and where she's thinking of what's going on and how she's kind of dealing with things and her philosophy on getting things done and this kind of turnaround mentality or whatever. But I thought it was interesting because we sometimes talk about this stuff.
Just a few times. All right. So fine. So since we're not going to talk about, the new God King, we'll talk about the Emperor with no clothes. Tell me what Nikia Wright, what came out of that?
Well, I mean, again, Brian it was an interview and just asking about like, how are you dealing with this? And I think that the theme of her was like, she can't focus on the past. She's got to focus on the future, and she's trying to do what she can to right the ship. And yes, she's aware that NAR's got a bad reputation right now, and that, there's other problems there as well. I mean, they had some layoffs of financial and getting the ship right. I mean, so just kind of those back and forth things. And it was just her pragmatic, I think, attitude that people kind of
Any specifics?
Appreciate it.
or just more highfalutin, generic, oh yeah, focus the future.
Well, okay, I hadn't heard her speak before live, right? So for me, it was just interesting to kind of like, do you get a vibe from this person? What are they like? And I mean, I can say that I didn't really think it was, like a, that she was standoffish or pretentious or whatever. I thought, she was hired to do a job and she's trying to do that job. And I thought she is going to be competent in that job. Just basically from that conversation.
Okay, great. Was this a, like a Swanepoel style inside actor studio, or was this an industry relations, 60 minutes interview? What sort of questions?
I mean, I think he asked, he's not gonna like, it's not a gotcha interview, right?
We don't do gotcha interviews, man. We just ask the questions that are on everyone's mind.
Right.
All right, fine.
Anyway, let's get to the real. Let's get to the real topic.
Sure. So while you're there, you heard Nikia speak. You were impressed. You got a great vibe from her. Is she like now your favorite NAR CEO? Because Bob Goldberg was your man, your guy.
I wouldn't say she's reached that capacity yet. No.
Okay. Like, how'd you compare to Dale?
Probably more than Dale. Sure.
More than Dale. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's Bob, Nikia, Dale in your book.
Well, I've only been around for.
I know, that's
not
great.
That many.
So she's second
CEOs.
of 3. Yeah. All right. Great. So, and then you heard about the news. So
yes.
What is the news?
Well, Zillow is not going to. If any listing starts out as a private exclusive, it will never, ever get on Zillow. Okay, and this I think changes the game in a lot of different ways, right? So if you don't want if you want to be on Zillow, you got to make sure that the origination of that listing is that everybody can see it first.
That is not true, but yes, that's the spirit of it.
It is true.
It is not true.
For MLS listings, at least.
No, it is not true.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes,
oh
it
my
is.
God. It's not true, Greg. Here's the truth. The truth is, if it is publicly marketed,
yes. Okay.
and then not put in
Yeah.
within, in other words, if it violates CCP,
yes.
then it will never be on
Right.
Zillow. Yeah. And the really important thing was actually that this kills the delayed marketing.
Yeah, I mean, why do this if you're? I mean,
Right.
yeah.
So it doesn't kill private exclusive. Okay?
Right.
Let's be real clear. You can do private exclusives
Yeah, who
as
would
long
ever
as you
do-
don't do, quote, public marketing.
Yeah, I mean, but who would do? What seller is going to sign up for this, right? If it's not going to go
All
on
of the
Zillow?
sellers that are using EXP's exclusives, for one.
Well, again, EXP came out that they're in favor of this, so I
I
don't
know,
know if they're
but
going to
they
have
still
that
have
type
an
of
exclusive
program.
program.
Well, you can have an exclusive program that
Right.
still goes on, to
Right. To
that is gonna
Zillow,
go on there.
as
Yeah.
long as you don't do, quote, public marketing.
Right. Correct.
Right. So it's not really. It's not. So when I learned that, it kind of sucked a little bit of the sail out from the moral righteousness.
But the thing is, though, I think, isn't it, if you start that way, but if you never public market,
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
then it's okay to be on Zillow. So it like I said, it does. as I wrote, I'm not saying either Zillow, nor EXP are being hypocritical here. No. But there's a whiff of something. It's not quite what you were led to believe, which is if a listing is marketed to anybody, it should be marketed to everybody. It's not quite that. It's if a listing is publicly marketed anywhere that is not Zillow, then it will never be allowed on Zillow.
No, I mean, let's be fair. I mean, Compass is doing this because it behooves their business interests, right?
Okay.
I don't think there's anything wrong with Zillow saying, well, this behooves our business interest to announce this because we're doing it this way, right?
This doesn't stop Compass from doing private exclusives.
Not in the way that they really want to, though.
Granted, but it does not stop that. In other words,
but Compass wants more. They want. I mean, you saw
agreed.
the letter. Yeah. So
Agreed.
it's not It's not. I don't know if this really. This does not. This blows away their three-phase strategy in a sense.
in theory.
right?
In theory. And we're going to talk about that. But I'm just pointing out at the outset this notion that if a listing is marketed to anybody, then it has to be marketed to everybody. It's not true. I'm just pointing out that like what Dwiggins has been arguing for, eliminate the office exclusive, everything should be open market. That's not what this policy does. Let's agree on that.
Okay, but I mean, this really does put a damper on what Compass was really trying to do,
right.
and maybe this this makes them rethink of whether they want to even do this at all.
No, it's not going to make them rethink that. They're going to double down.
We'll
but
see.
we'll get to that, right?
Yeah,
So
we'll see.
But I'm just so let's be real clear that what this policy actually accomplishes is no delayed marketing. Right? In other words, you're not going to have this coming soon status, right? That's level 2, right? So in the 3-phase marketing strategy Compass wants to, right? Level 1 was straight office exclusive, right? It's maybe in the MLS, maybe not, but it's only exclusive. Only Compass agents can see it, and Compass agents do not engage in quote public marketing. So it's not on a website anywhere. It's not, it's not being, broadcast anywhere. It is being communicated only by email, one-to-one. Like calling up a client, hey, because I'm a Compass agent, I can tell you about this Compass exclusive that we have, right? That's all okay. And then once those go to active, once they are now starting to be promoted to the whole marketplace, right? Then Zillow's like, we're cool with that because that's compliant with CCP policy, right? And that right now is going to be allowed for Compass. It'll be allowed for EXP, for Douglas Elliman, for Anywhere, for anybody who wants to do private exclusives.
Right.
Okay. So would you agree that that's not quite the spirit of what people are talking about?
Well, I don't know. I can't get into everybody's head what they thought about it, but I mean,
well, everyone,
what do you mean?
all the people that are arguing against Compass, arguing against all this it's bullshit. You should never hide a listing. Right? All listings should be public right out the gate, exposed to everybody, the entire market, so that buyers don't have to go search all these different places. They should be able to see everything that's in the market. The sellers should get maximum exposure. Right? No more of these private, listing networks, no more of these like private silos, no more hiding listings. That's what's being argued from the other side. Like the Dwiggins position is that. Right?
Sure,
right.
Yeah.
The Zillow, this new thing is not that.
No. I mean, again, What do I always tell you, right?
Incremental, sure. Yeah.
Incremental iterations.
Yep.
This is another iteration of this. I think it's this is a welcome iteration, and we'll see what fucking happens.
Okay. So I'm just clarifying like what we're talking about here, right? So what it really does is it kills delayed marketing.
Well, but it really does kill. I mean, again, there might be an iteration of the 3-phase strategy, right? But I don't think the way that they intended right now the 3-phase strategy to work. And I think the way that even NAR put it out there, remember you had published, I think, in one of your posts about the letters that some CEOs are getting from MLS, MLS CEOs are getting from Compass that, no, we want it this other way, right?
That's
so this is another, I think, further weakening of what Compass's full intentions were in the beginning. Now, they might iterate on their thing, right? They might have to.
Yeah.
But again, I think it does weaken what they really wanted to start out with.
It attempts to weaken what Compass wants to do. So, fine. So what it does then, like I said, let's be real clear about this. It kills delayed marketing. It does not kill private exclusive. Okay? And what it does is so then Compass could do a 2-phase strategy, no longer a 3-phase. We can go exclusive and then we'll go active. There's no pre-marketing through coming soon.
Right.
Right. All right. Just let's be clear about what the impact
goes from
is.
3 to 2, yeah.
Okay. So high level, man, how do you think this plays out? And I'm sure you haven't read my post yet. I did a late night immersive
the stuff I saw
night.
your Twitter thing of like you're trying to argue that that FSBO are going to go away on Zillow and all that. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. These aren't listings, but
FSBOs aren't listings.
Well, I mean, is there
what's a
some
listing?
Sort of contract? You sign an exclusive contract to sell?
Oh, exclusive contract to sell.
That's
MLS,
what a
listing
right?
is? Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I think.
So an open listing is not a listing. Because Ed Zorn at CRMLS argues heavily, hey, if you want to do all these things, all you have to do is get an open listing.
Well, again, that's a contract, an agreement that is like has some MLS significance. So
Is it a listing? Is it not a listing?
That'd be in a gray area, I think.
Yeah, but is it a list? I mean, if you're defining listing as exclusive right to sell, right? So feasible by definition is not that. I would assume new construction isn't that, but rentals are.
Well, some rentals may be, right? But
Most
not
rentals,
all of them.
most property managers I know, they sign this exclusive right to represent listing agreements. It's a lease listing.
I don't think I've ever, when I was renting, ever signed any agreement with a particular person that can only show me listings.
No. I'm saying the seller, the property manager
Through the
represents the
MLS?
landlord.
Through the MLS?
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, sometimes.
But they're not in the
There
MLS.
might be some odd places.
I know, but they're not in the MLS, right? So my point that I'm arguing back and forth with Sam is just making it seem like this is obvious. I mean, it's not obvious because the text of this policy is nowhere to be found. All we have is Zillow's announcement, right, which is like a blog post or an announcement or a press release, right? It's not okay, here's the Zillow listing access, system, access standard,
Policy
that
or
access
something,
standard, right? That I've been calling ZLAS, right? They don't go, okay, here's definitions and here's the language, so we could look at it and see what does this allow, what does this not allow.
Even if they did that, NAR came out with this delayed listing things, and everybody had questions, and then they said, "Oh, we're gonna have to clarify this sentence, whatever."
Of course.
It's gonna anything you put out in copy or text.
Of course.
It may not be satisfied to everybody, but they'll probably clarify things as things go along. Yeah.
Of course, but our job as commentators is to point those things out. It's like, okay, so you claim this, but you haven't defined this. We need some clarification. So I've been asking for clarification ever since this released, literally communicating with like Zillow people. It's like, hey, what's up with FSBO? They're like, well, there's no exclusive listing agreement. I'm like, okay, but rentals do.
Again, that's very unusual, I would think.
It's not at all unusual. What property manager is going to do, quote, open lease listings? So I'm just saying,
okay.
Just take it from. Just believe me on this. It said Zillow didn't think about it. What they were after was the resale market. What they were after was Compass. So they didn't really think about those other things, which is fine. I'm not blaming them.
Yeah.
I'm saying now you need clarification, right?
Which we'll probably get, or not.
Probably right, because otherwise we get these random things like, well, FSBO can't list in the MLS, so therefore it doesn't cover them. I'm like, okay, fine. So if you're in a realtor MLS and you're not a realtor, so you can't put it in the MLS, does this mean I can do all the things and then still put it on Zillow? That doesn't seem right. You know what I mean? Like, it's those things. So I'm just like, it needs a lot more clarity.
You asked me like what I think or what do you think is going to happen. So my analogy for this is that, we got to think at Compass is at like 3.7 billion market cap, and I think Zillow's like 14 or something like that, right? This is dad getting pissed. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
So what it is that he's heard the fucking kids in the other room arguing over this and arguing that, and he's like, I've just had enough of this shit. And he comes in there with the belt.
Okay.
We're doing it this way. You go there, and you go there. I'm tired of listening to this shit.
Okay.
It's like an angry dad energy I'm getting from Zillow here. It's
okay.
Like they're tired of all this nonsense. And they're going to say, this is the way it's going to be.
That's right.
Mom's not going to be happy. His son's not going to be happy. His daughter's not going to be happy, but he's tired of listening to this.
Right.
And he's just going to come in there and say, this is like the 50s dad with a belt.
Yeah. Okay.
Walking into the room, telling everybody to shut up and go to their rooms, right?
100% agreed. So if Zillow's dad, what's NAR?
Well, used to be dad.
Right.
Yeah. So, but right. Zillow has the wherewithal, right, to come in there because NAR aren't going to do anything. They're too shy now. Right? They've been sued. They don't want to be sued again. Zillow, no, it is. Zillow's dad and NAR used to be dad and is not dad anymore. No.
So the issue there becomes, so you think Zillow comes in and says, enough is enough, you stupid kids, and takes his belt off, and you think these kids are just going to be like, oh, sorry, daddy. That's what you think is going to happen.
I don't know, right? That happens in some houses. In some houses, the older kid doesn't want to put up with that anymore, right?
This feels a little bit like abusing the shit out of that analogy, which I love, right? It's almost like you have a dad, right, who's powerless, who told you guys cut that out, and they're just like, fuck you, dad, and just do whatever the hell you want, right? And then a stranger comes in the door, takes his belt and goes,
Maybe
you
it's
kids better quiet
it's
down.
It's a stepdad. It's a stepdad.
Exactly.
Zillow's
The
stepdad.
mother's boyfriend comes in the door. It's like, you kids better shut the fuck up. And the kids are like, fuck you. You know, it's just, there's a chance this doesn't go the way that you and Dwiggins thinks it's going to go, right? That this isn't, sure, Zillow could have that energy, right? Enough is enough. I'm putting my foot down. But the kids could be like, who the fuck is you? Right? And be like,
sure.
gang up to attack him back. So I don't know.
Well, no, I'm not trying to like extend the analogy to that far. I'm just saying this action.
Yeah.
When I read that thing, the post, I'm like, yeah, this is angry dad energy for sure. Right?
I agree.
This is
yeah.
I've had enough.
Yeah.
I've had enough of this bullshit.
Sure.
I'm done.
Sure.
I'm done.
So let me ask you one question because I put it on my post, right? And the more I think about it, because I just wrote it, right? It was like initial reaction, and then I spent like a day sort of thinking about it further. It's like, why do you think only EXP?
Well, let's see. Has anybody but Leo? I mean, because Anywhere's been kind of, well, if they did it this way, Redfin's, I mean, they're on a whole different, Glenn's like counting money right now or trying to figure out, how to keep his people employed.
Plus, they're
right?
Rocket. So here's the list that I pulled up, right? This is from.
none of these guys have been as vocal as EXP.
Agreed.
So to me, it would be weird that EXP did not say anything.
Right.
The other people not saying anything is like, well, that's how it's been going. EXP has been the most vocal on this. None of them have been vocal on this really much.
Well, there's
as
one
vocal
that has
as
been,
EXP.
not as EXP, but I'm surprised that 24 Brown Hair Stevens wasn't.
Maybe
Because she was very vocal, right?
Yeah, if she might be. I mean, everybody. The thing is too. It's like you and I.
What about Windermere?
I think it's just too soon. I mean, he already said he'd already kind of come out with that, and I think his champion already was Northwest MLS. Right, so they've been down a path there also. So I don't think they need to kind of say they've already said what they've had to say about this.
Okay.
For him to come out, maybe he'll do it and everything. What I was going to say is that you and I keep track of this stuff, and this is like just honey to a freaking bee here for us, and we're like on it, whatever. These guys got regular jobs, right?
Who are
They're not going to be as quick, right?
That have regular jobs.
The Windermere's and the Brown Hair. I mean, the executives and those kind of core. I mean, Leo has been living this for a while too, right? He's been kind of this has been.
I'm sorry, bro. They've all been living this for a while. CCP's going on for a couple of years.
Okay,
They've
but
all
I mean,
been
as far he has been the EXP has been making themselves known as been.
No, I'm not asking why EXP was part of it. Of course, EXP was part of it for everything you read. What I'm asking is why only EXP?
Okay, so I would reframe the question: why only have EXP been talking about CCP and not most of the rest of these guys ever, right? Because they haven't been talking about it at all.
Sure. Let me put it this way. First of all, in your opinion, how long have Zillow and EXP been talking about this? For them to come out with the announcement yesterday the way they did, right? Very strong, by the way. Really good move. Like Zillow comms, like that's how you do it, right? That's a strong move.
Yeah.
How long do you think they've been talking about this?
Zillow
and EXP.
Okay, Zillow, I think, I have a very high regard to their decision. I think they got a room of quants that have game theory this fucking thing out probably 6 months ago.
I agree. Yep.
Right? So Zillow's, to me, an outlier, right? They just, Barton works in the back. He's got his sea of quants. Yep. Run this scenario, right? And they've got this whiteboard up there with decision trees written up there. This is what we're going to do if this happens. This is what's going to do if this happens, right?
Yeah.
EXP, I think this is just something that Leo and the others are kind of passionate about, so that they feel it's more coming from the heart than really a kind of business quant theory decision tree analysis thing.
I agree. When do you think Zillow called Leo? They didn't call them. They didn't call them yesterday at 7 a.m. Hey, we're about to release this announcement. Do you want to get on this press release? Can we agree that it didn't happen the same day?
I don't know how it happened. I don't know. I couldn't.
But I mean, just think about big companies. But they're both publicly traded companies. It didn't happen overnight. Okay. The CCP, the decision NAR made was 3 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
When do you think Zillow started talking to Leo and say, hey?
Between 1 day and 3 weeks. That's when I think they talked.
Okay, reasonably speaking, what do you think? Public companies with lawyers. I'm going to guess it's been 3 weeks.
No, I'm going to guess. Well, I don't know. Right when it came out, I think there was a lot of I mean, to me, you and I both. It took me a week to kind of understand, what does this really mean? How do I? I mean, I had to grok the thing. I couldn't really grok the thing right out of the box, right? So it took me about a week myself to kind of like, okay, now I get this is coming soon. Plus, that's how in my head, after a long time, after about a week, I kind of just. So I would say probably a week to figure this out, and then maybe you find some allies for you. So maybe 2 weeks ago.
I think Zillow's had the strategy working for months.
Yeah, no, I said that.
I think they contacted Leo and EXP probably no later than 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Like
I mean,
after the announcement. That's my guess.
This is just like, it's just like invading Kuwait, right? Bush wanted an alliance of people to go out there, so it just wasn't them. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So that leads to my second question.
Okay.
If they've been talking for 2 weeks, do you think Zillow reached out to? Obviously, I'm putting this list up because obviously I'm not going to bother with Compass, right? That's a given. They're not going to bother with
Anywhere.
Howard Hanna. Why wouldn't they bother with Anywhere?
Because Anywhere's been wishy-washy on this.
Okay, but this would be a great opportunity, man. You are Zillow. You are doing the big dad energy. I'm coming in. No more of this shit. Think how much more powerful that announcement would have been.
Okay, maybe they did, Rob, and maybe Anywhere says, you know what, I appreciate what you guys doing, but we're going to step. We're not into this.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
What about home services?
Well, again, whether you want to believe the news or not, they've got bigger fish to fry. They might be going through an acquisition right now. So it's like,
Zillow called. So, do you think Zillow called them?
Do I think Zillow called them? Yeah.
Think about it, because this would be like Errol's team, right? Industry relations team.
I'm trying to think like
huge team.
Do they call Gino, right? Because this is all personality driven.
That's right.
Do they call Gino up? I don't know. Maybe.
I bet they did. Because think about it. You and I both know some of the guys that work on industry relations for Zillow, right? And these are some of the best professionals in the business. You know what I mean? They have deep relationships going back years. They're well respected in the brokerage community, right? They have I have no doubt in my mind they called Gino. I have no doubt in my mind they called Real Brokerage. Right? They maybe called Douglas Elliman, right? They didn't call Howard Hanna, I would imagine, because right? They know where Howard's they're going to be. Redfin, maybe they called, maybe they didn't.
Again, that's to me, it's like
Side. You're telling me they didn't contact Side, the ninth largest brokerage?
But Side is like they're like the back end. They're not, you can't, the back end broker, the tech stack of brokerages is not going to make a position on this, right?
They're still the ninth largest brokerage. You don't think they called them?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, fine. You think they call United Real Estate?
Maybe.
HomeSmart?
You see, but your premise here is interesting to me, right? Because I'm not sure that, when I think of like Errol and Kurt and a lot of those guys on their industry relations teams, I think MLS relationships.
Yeah,
right?
Errol and Kurt specifically.
I think those guys really have those kind of like take a call, first name basis, maybe no kids' names. Now, I'm not sure if like Errol and Gino hung out a lot and they know each other that well,
but,
right?
But you're discounting guys like TG, right, and that whole team. They have a whole brokerage relations team.
Maybe, sure, yeah.
They're really good at their jobs, man. So here's why I'm bringing this up. Okay, I think they contacted all of them, and I think they could only get EXP to say yes.
So what's your point?
My point is 2 days after, right? 2 days before this announcement's made, or something like that. I can't remember the timing. It's interesting. They come out with this announcement yesterday. 2 days before that, Inman releases big thing saying Douglas Elliman and Anywhere have launched private links networks. This has been going on for at least 3 weeks, 2 weeks at least, right? In other words, Zillow is thinking, hey, we need to pull this thing. We need to do this policy and say, you know what? You go exclusive. You do this shenanigans. You can never be listed on Zillow. They're going to make this power move. If they had come out with this announcement and say, we are joined by EXP, Anywhere, Home Services, United Real Estate, all these like humongous brokerages, that is 1,000 times more powerful.
It's a nice to have.
Granted, It's 1,000 times more powerful.
I don't think it's 1,000 more times. I mean, this
Dude,
is dropped.
it is 1,000 times more powerful.
This is dropped. This news is dropped. It is going mainstream. It's trending on Twitter, right? So this is a big thing. I mean, yes, it would have been nice to have more people on there, but this is making an impact out there.
I'm not saying it's not making it. I'm just pointing out.
So what if, the other thing is like, shame on them, right? Maybe, if they didn't have the courage to kind of get on board, well, I mean, maybe you don't want those people on board.
Okay.
Right? I don't think 1,000 times. No, this dropped and this has been making news. I don't think, it's going to make it like, even bigger there.
It's kind of
bigger, like, but it doesn't, it's not like it's like it was a fart in the wind, right? I mean, right? This is big news.
Of course it is. I'm not saying it's not. We're talking about it on a fucking Friday afternoon, so of course it's big news. I'm just pointing out it's like the example that you gave. If George Bush launches this like coalition of willing and there's one country, that's not that impressive. Yeah. Right? The whole premise behind this, we're going to show like 20 countries. So for Zillow, this would have been much more powerful.
We would have still gone in Kuwait with freaking,
Of course, we would have gone in alone. And Zillow would have done this with or without EXP. No, of course. And Zillow would have done this with or without EXP. My point simply is, if Zillow could have gotten 10 brokerages to line up, that makes this even more powerful.
Yeah, and it's just a shame that those 10 other brokerages didn't have the courage that EXP did.
That's right. It's a shame from your perspective. I'm looking at it just analytically, strategically going, they didn't line them up because either, one, they didn't ask them, and that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, knowing what I know about Zillow and the guys on the industry relations team and how professional they are, how good they are, there's absolutely no way they didn't ask. So what that really says is they asked, and the other 9 brokers said, no thanks, or we're going to wait and see.
Yeah. I think the wait and see is probably the conservative strategy to go by. Yeah.
And to which your criticism of them saying you guys didn't have the guts, blah, blah, blah. Fine. Like you can that's totally fine. I'm just looking at this strategically, and here's why. Because if they said let's wait and see, we don't know, or straight up, nah, we're not interested in supporting this, that's not good for Zillow. Then I think this doesn't play out the way that
that's not good for Zillow.
Yeah,
that's
the way that you and Dwiggins think it's going to play out, where Zillow comes in with big dad energy and starts taking his belt off, and the kids all line up. This could be like Zillow comes in, takes his belt off, and a bunch of kids like pull guns on him and they start gunning his ass down. Like it's not.
We'll see.
This could be a real fight back. Is my point, right?
It could be. I mean, I think this has got a lot of big dad energy, whether mom's behind him or not, right? I mean,
right. Okay. The other question I had, and I really wanted to talk to you about this. How do you think the MLSs feel about this? Specifically, the ones that have already done a coming soon, like SFAR and MRED, and they've had those for years.
How do they feel about it?
Yeah. Because Zillow just came in and wiped all that out.
Well, I think they're going to have to make some adjustments, right? They're going to have to look at their policies and see what now that this is a new thing that came, right? Mm-hmm. So they're going to have to study and say, okay, what does this mean for our policy? Does this fit within the policy? It doesn't. Well, again, we're already arguing whether a FSBO is or not, right? So there are some clarifications, as you said, that need to come down. Like, well, does this mean that the way we're doing it, this MLS are doing this? I think we need some more clarification to see what that means.
No, dude. On that one, we don't need clarification because Zillow made it very clear, right? If you publicly market, right, a listing, and it's outside of the within 1 day, it's in violation of CCP, then it will never be on Zillow.
Yeah.
Okay. MRED coming soon is publicly marketed. It is not available to everybody, right? It's not sent on to Zillow.
Yeah.
Zillow's not going to say, okay, MRED coming soon. Banished from Zillow.
Well, it's not MRED's coming soon, it's that broker's coming soon. But yeah, sure.
But MRED's policy, right? SFAR's policy.
Sure.
Right? So my question is, how do SFAR and MRED feel about this? Because know those guys.
Okay. Here's what it is. It's like maybe they had good intentions going in, coming up with the PLN and some other of these policies, but it's got out of control. Mm-hmm. Right, but they're kind of felt locked. They've already launched this, but they saw no way out, and like they could say to themselves, "Oh man, this is going to be really great," right?
Right.
That could be one way. Another way could be, shit, our brokers are going to be pissed about this, and what Memred's going to have to say to them is like, oh, you're pissed about this. Okay, go talk to Zillow. Right? This has nothing to do with us. This is Zillow's policy. If you don't think that this is fair or whatever, go talk to Zillow then. Right?
Right.
What else? What else are they going to say? This is not their policy.
Yeah, that's my point. Right. So you don't see how that means the MLS has lost enormous amount of power. Like, who cares what the board of directors of an MLS says now? Because Zillow could step in and be like, we don't give a shit what your policy is.
This is just, I understand where you're going here.
Right.
I understand what you're saying here, but this is already happened. When NAR came down and didn't really made it an MLS thing and have already said that we're not backing you, we can't back you up on this. This is just another symptom of that happening, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So right now, your judgment is that the MLSs are happy. It's the first option. They're saying, you know what, this was a real problem we had. Thank you, Zillow, for coming and solving it for us.
I think some MLS may feel that, some MLSs may not. Right. I don't know. I think Northwest MLS's position on things is probably far different from MRED's, right?
Well, Northwest has never allowed anything like this. Northwest is
again,
really
that's
strict.
what I'm saying. Every MLS has, I can't say a blanket statement for every MLS out there.
Yeah. Greg, hey, I guess we are live. Greg says enterprise tech vendors were pitching here. Let's show on stream. Look at that. Greg, enterprise tech vendors were pitching exclusive listings interface the last few weeks. Like, it was the hottest opportunity out there. A lot who have big brand partnerships. He's not wrong. It's true. I guess the question is, does that have an implication how this plays out?
Well, fine. They'll have to, now that we've got new information, Zillow is going to take this policy. They're going to look at okay, does this make sense anymore? Okay. Or do we have to modify this so that it does make sense? It's, again, I think, if I look back at this, it might be better that it is more of an iteration, as you are trying to argue, which I think you're right, instead of this big news. It is an iteration. And I think that's the way that things should work out. We should try to try to find the things to kind of tweak these things to kind of make it what it is, right? Maybe it isn't this big thing that everybody thought it was, but I think it's an iteration. I think iteration is a good thing in this case.
Iterations have costs, so we'll see. So yeah. in the long run, who do you think wins?
Here's what I was of course, you and I have been talking to a lot of people, right? It's like, let's take away the Big Daddy metaphor here, right?
Sure.
And this is something also that Brian Barrero had mentioned at CMLS, where when you think about this, think of the headlines that could happen, right? The real estate industry is hiding listings. And and we start seeing these things in the Wall Street Journal of it's just going to put another black eye on the industry, right? I don't know if Robert Refkin is going to look at this. So the way that the spin could be that those guys are hiding listings is something he doesn't want that, right? And what's going to hold on.
Let me tell you what Robert Refkin's spin, because I actually know what it is. It's already going to be, right? Because
home seller rights.
Exactly.
Come on.
That's exactly his spin.
Yeah.
That's exactly spin.
No, it's his spin. It's gonna lose, because when he starts going more into that, and he's gonna talk about all these minutia inside baseball things, all the seller's gonna hear is it's not going on it's not going on Zillow.
Really?
What do you mean it's not going on Zillow? Right? Because think about it. Zillow they're not making Saturday Night Live sketches about Homes.com or Realtor.com. You could call Realtor.com or anything else. I think the way I read it was, it's like the Bing of real estate, of portals or whatever, right? Any consumer's it's not going to be on, it's not going to be on Google. It's not going to be on whatever. What are you talking? How is this going to be? How is it going to? Zillow is a cultural thing in this place, right? It has not only does it have a big daddy energy, it's got a big D energy totally, right? So I think Zillow's so ingrained in the culture of real estate in this country that when you try to make an argument of going on Zillow is a bad thing, I don't think that's gonna be a tough sell, man.
Then how do you explain the fact that Compass exclusive been going up like a strip? up and to the right. Mike Del Prete just put out a graph about this. How do you if what you're saying is true, why does Zillow need to do this at all? Because all of the listings would have ended up on Zillow. Because to your point, every seller would have been seller would have been like, "Are you fucking nuts? We're not gonna put this on Zillow."
Because right. I think what's happening now is that these agents, and we know how this goes. Oh, you have to sign this because otherwise, I have to whatever. And there's not a lot of disclosure on that thing. And maybe the reason why is because that graph is going up to the left. Like, we have to stop this before it gains any traction because sellers don't understand what is happening here. They're
is
just
that an
being
assumption?
Huh?
What makes you assume that sellers don't understand it?
I'm making an assumption, sure.
I know. What I'm saying is why not make the opposite assumption that sellers do understand it?
Well, that's what you're here for, Rob.
Okay, yeah, I'll make the opposite assumption that sellers do understand it. Because the thing that puzzles me about all of this from the start, right, is if public marketing is so much better for all sellers, right, and any agent that tells a seller, we're going to do private, we're going to do coming soon, we're going to do any of that, right, is in breach of fiduciary duty, they're screwing the country, they're screwing buyers, they are fucking shit up, right? They're terrible. And the sellers are just more informed that they would always absolutely choose full open market, right? If that's true, right? Then I'm like, why do we need any of these rules? Why do we need clear cooperation policy, right? Because the 30% of agents in San Francisco and Bay Area who are doing things off market should have been put out of business by all of the agents going to their exact sellers, be like, hey, you're getting screwed by your agent. That didn't happen. Why do we need the rules, like, to create a behavior that is normal and natural, like everyone seems to argue? Do you see what I'm saying?
Again, I think you go back to, Sam DeBoard on this, right? I mean, the MLS is rules. That's what it's all about. When you want to join the MLS, it's about because everybody wants to is agreeing to follow these set of rules.
Why do you need this
if you
rule?
don't want to follow those rules, then you don't have to be on the MLS. Go somewhere else and do it yourself.
But my point is, why do you need this rule when everyone's going to do what you want them to do anyway?
Well, it's not. Obviously, that's not the case, right? I mean, people can be coerced into something that may not make that is not in their best interest, of course.
You understand how you're arguing in circles here? My point is, if it's so clearly in someone's best interest.
Of course
your point is, if I'm an agent, I go to a seller and say, listen, Mr. Seller, I have this wonderful three-phase strategy, but we're not going to put it on Zillow. Your point is the seller's going to look at him and go, get out of my house. That's your point, right? Because Zillow is this cultural phenomenon. They're big daddy. They're big dick energy. They're this, right? Saturday Night Live, like Zillow is Zillow. So no seller in their right mind is going to be like, okay, agent, I'm going to listen to you and we're not going to put it on Zillow. That's your point.
I think that you can always package things to get people to get where you want them to be. That's called freaking sales. That's called marketing, right?
Sure.
And you can maybe downplay certain aspects of what your plan are, right? But at the end of the day, I think if you in the case of what it is now, what was it? Werzer had that post like, dude, where's my listing, right? If you fully grokked on that and said, okay, I just want to make sure you understand this one point. At no time will your listing be on Zillow, because we don't think that's the right thing to do.
Right.
I think if it was put as distinctly as binary, as black and white as that, most sellers, I would hope, unless they were in some sort of Steve Jobs, reality distortion field that this agent put in there, would go, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Right. So if that's the case, then why do we need rules? Because all you need are competitors calling that seller up going, do you understand that you're not going to be on
because
Zillow
there
forever,
are people that again do not do that. They hide, they do whatever it is to make sure that they're not as black and white as that.
What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean. You mean the agent lies to them?
Well, I don't know if it's a lie, but it's definitely like, it's a less
it's a flim flam. I'm not going to explain the whole concept. Just sign this piece of paper so I could do exclusives, right? That's your point. Sure. And I agree, that happens. My point is those agents are getting their ass sued. Like, that's pretty clear.
Well,
They're getting ass sued.
I haven't seen it yet, but I think Dwiggins thinks this very clearly, right? That they will. We'll see what happens. And nothing's
but then
happened
I'm like,
yet.
So I'm like, if they're clearly going to get sued, And any seller who's explained,
again, nothing's certain, right? So I mean, it doesn't. I don't think it's a bad thing for you to kind of put your thumb on the scale of the side that you wanted to.
Sam, salespeople are convinced. You're right, Sam, but they get sued afterwards. It's my point. Right? Lawyers are pretty convincing too. So why do you need a rule?
Well, I mean, we wouldn't need. Why do we need laws? Right?
Because people break them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why do we need rules? Because people break them.
All right. Oh my God! This is Greg. Agent for most part don't know the intricacies of advertising. The mystery most has to. Fine. I think.
Thank you, Greg and Sam, for helping me out
for standing up for power of Zillow. I think I'm currently leaning towards. I think Zillow loses this.
Stake bet.
But when will we find out? Sure,
okay,
let's do a stake bet.
They rescind their policy totally.
If they rescind their policy totally. Okay, sure. By when?
Right,
I mean, when?
Okay,
within
end of the year.
A year. It's gonna take. I think it'll take longer than a year.
End of the year.
Let's say end of next year.
Well, God, that's I mean, by then they'll iterate, right? I mean, to something else.
But
right?
they iterate to a point where you can look at it and go, okay, this is they're giving.
Okay, I'll give you end of next year. Yeah.
All right, let's end it. And here's why.
I mean, hopefully we'll have a buyer's market by then, and none of this fucking shit matters anymore.
If that's the case, man, I'd be happy to fucking buy your steak dinner. There are a hell of a lot more important things than me buying your steak dinner. Because here's the thing, like maybe it's just an ego thing, maybe it's, and I think I'm not completely torn. I'm really kind of leaning towards I think Zillow losing this. And the key company has always been Anywhere. Like Refkin encompasses...
The key company has always been Anywhere.
Yeah, no,
wow.
Here's why.
That's a boomer statement right there.
I know, right? But think about it. Refkin's been out there waving this flag, and he is kind of a lightning rod. You know what I mean? He doesn't mind being a lightning rod. He loves the country. He courts it. He's out there making some pretty strong statements, pissing off a lot of people, right? Anywhere, it's not that company. Right? Ryan Schneider is never going to be out there doing social media posts like talking about anything. You know what I mean? They are very, like, they've always, in my opinion, Anywhere, Realogy before, they've always been sort of the establishment of the industry.
Yeah, conservative.
Right?
Yeah.
They're conservative, smart, pragmatic. They're not ideologues in any way.
Yeah.
I think if Anywhere, where Anywhere goes, I think the rest of the industry follows. Right.
Jesus, God, yeah. That is so boomer. God, that's so boomer.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think you're way wrong.
Okay, what's Anywhere done that people haven't? Now, here's the thing. Anywhere doesn't lead. Anywhere kind of watches the trend.
Yeah,
right?
No, right. So, like,
then,
you're saying the company that doesn't lead, everybody's going to follow them. I mean, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
You're right. That doesn't make sense. It's more like Anywhere is like Swanepoel Trends. Right? By the time it's published there, it's been known for like 2 years. Anywhere is going to tell us where this goes.
Jettison this analogy as soon as you can.
No, I'm serious. I mean, they know I feel that way. But here's the thing. I think if Anywhere decides we're going to go against Zillow on this, it's over. Right. And so far,
they don't even need to, right? They're just going to let. I mean, Anywhere is the total conservatives. Like, yeah, God, Errol, great idea. I would love to participate, but I would need to get our board of directors together, and we don't meet until September of next year, and it's going to be blah 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 blah. Okay, thanks, Ryan. Bye. Right.
The issue is going to be in the meantime. In the meantime,
let these guys fight the fight. Let them fight it out. We'll watch and we'll whatever kind of is advantageous to us later. Again, It's fucking courage. It's fucking leadership, right? So, I mean, yeah, you can either be on this or not.
Greg, Anywhere's already launched a private listing network.
Well, so far, I mean, maybe they have. Maybe it fits in the rules or not. We'll see.
No, it'll fit within the rules, but they've launched a private listing network. Ryan Schneider has said we are ready to go the minute the industry has. Okay,
they haven't launched it yet, but they're ready.
They've launched it. It's for Corcoran.
Let's go online. Show me the Anywhere exclusive listings network.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
How many do they have?
Do you want me to find it? Inman News, Inman.com.
No, they talked about it.
No, they don't talk about it here. I'll share it with you. Jesus Christ. Hold on. Brokers rollout. All right,
I mean,
here we
is
go.
is it compliant with CCP?
On Monday, Douglas Elliman teased it's coming. And
Let's see it. I'm excited now.
Here we go. A few weeks ago, Corcoran Group also quietly launched Corcoran Reserve, a private network for Corcoran agents and clients, where agents and clients can size
it's not
up.
public. It's not publicly listed, right? Because it's exclusive, right?
I mean, I would imagine. I don't know. I'm just pointing out Corcoran has launched this. Corcoran is a wholly owned brokerage subsidiary of Anywhere, right? That they didn't do it for Coldwell Banker, not yet, but it's coming. Like it's as obvious as anything. Right, I'm gonna stop sharing.
I haven't seen it, so I hear about these things, but I've never seen anything.
And I can't help but feel like, does this not open a window for CoStar and Homes?
CoStar and Homes. God, I mean, to me, if I'm Homes.com, I mean, if I'm not just completely rattled by the Rocket acquisitions.
They should be.
And trying to kind of rethink what am I doing in this space right now.
They should be. And I think there was this like board,
So I don't know if this really, what does this do to, does this, okay, so okay, let's go down this path, right?
Let's war game
Okay,
this.
so now, I think Brian kind of had this interesting post about this, or his Friday flash of, right? Well, your listings won't be on Zillow, but they'll be on Homes.com.
Yep.
And people are going to go and Realtor.com, let's say, right?
Yeah.
Again,
yeah.
Okay, Homes.com, right? Again, I think as good a job as Homes does, right, with their site and design and what they've been doing, they're not making Saturday Night Live skits about Homes.com.
No, of course not.
Zillow is in a different class there, so I don't think that consumers are going to be satisfied enough that it's going to be available on this other site other than Zillow, right? So not yet, anyway. Maybe that changes, right? But not yet. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
Again, but you're assuming that what's really important for consumers is that it be on Zillow.
I think so. I mean, they're just that big, dude.
No, of course they're that big. What I'm saying, though, is if that's true, then none of this needs to happen. Zillow doesn't need to make a move.
Well, I think
Right, because-
somebody at Zillow, the quants at Zillow decided
Right.
this isn't going all the way that we thought it would. We're going to have to make a move. Okay.
Exactly. That's my point. My point is, what this says to me is that Zillow's not as strong as we might think. Because if it were, Zillow wouldn't have needed to make this move. They'll be like, whatever, it's all going to end up on Zillow anyway. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, the argument though that is, and again, and I've, I've been the one that talks about like these companies got to keep, and you've challenged me on this. These companies got to stop fronting, right?
Yeah.
And that includes Zillow. When they say, "Oh, our consumer is our North Star," and blah 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 blah. I mean,
Yeah.
and I've said that before, and you and you told me, you yourself said, you know what, Greg? They really do believe that. They really do believe
They
that.
do.
So,
Yeah.
so in this case, it's not about whether it's harmful. And again, I think it is. Let's just be clear. This is a best move for Zillow as a business. But if I believe what you believe, what you've been telling me, that there is a part of them that really believes in consumers' rights,
Sure.
in this kind of case,
Sure.
then whether they're powerful or not, they had to do something because that's part of their North Star.
Yeah. And again, and I'm agreeing. Here's the thing. Zillow they keep doing this. Everyone keeps doing this, right? And I just pointed this out in my post, like consumer, they keep saying consumer when what they mean is buyer. Because sellers are also consumers.
Well, I mean, they're more of a buyer network. I mean, they make their monies off of buyer.
No,
They make money everywhere. Really.
Now, granted,
Yeah.
so I'm just
Sure.
saying. So no, I agree with Zillow, but if we're going to refine that statement in 2025, my point is Zillow, for them, the buyer is the North Star. They want total transparency for buyers. They want all the advantages for buyers. My point is, what this does for homes.
Well, the buyers are bringing the money, man. I mean, yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah.
Fine, okay. My point is, it now opens the door for homes or realtor, but it can't be realtor, for homes to be like, we're the seller portal. Right. Zillow hates you, sellers. We love you. buyers are second-class citizens over here at homes.
Well, again, I mean that's so inside baseball for any seller to kind of like. So you're telling me by not going on Zillow as a seller, I'm going to benefit? I mean that's a tough argument to make, bro.
I'm not saying it's an easy argument, but Zillow's not open the door.
Easy. That's like learning Chinese, man.
Because here's the thing that I need someone to explain to me. Where I understood pre-marketing, right? Where you could go on, test the market, no days on market, no price changes, right?
We hide all that, yeah.
Right. How is this bad for me if I'm a seller?
What do you mean? How is it bad for you?
Isn't it an advantage for me as a seller? If I'm selling my house, I say, you know what? Before I fully go active, I want to test market some shit.
I mean, I could. Sure. I mean, I could own a bagel shop and take day old bagels and steam them in a thing and put them out there, and that's going to make it easier for me to sell, right? I mean, and not tell anybody that they're day old bagels, right? No, I mean it's great for a seller, but it's not,
right.
You know.
Sure, you could say it's not good for the buyer. No. It's not fair. Fine, but my point is,
no. I mean, we could. Right? Everybody commit fraud as much as they can. That fraud could be beneficial to you. Is it fraud to tell them to hide how long it's been on the market?
You think days on market rise to a level of fraud?
I don't know if the fraud's a word I want to use, but it's not fully transparent. I mean,
it's not fully. No, I'm agreeing, but it's. So the first look at it is if you really believe that's fraud. Then it's not Zillow and NAR you need to be talking to. It's the California legislature you need to be talking to.
Yeah, who knows? We may get there.
If we get there, then no argument. Look, it's the fucking law, man. It's like fair housing. Like, it's the law. You have to do this. But that's not the law today, right? So all I'm saying is if I'm a seller, if I'm allowed to fuck around in pre-marketing, that seems like an advantage to me. Isn't it?
No, again, yeah, we could all gussy up anything we want to make it look. I mean, of course, yeah.
It sucks for the buyer. I'm granting, right, because that's the issue. In a two-sided marketplace, the buyer and the seller have opposing interests in some ways. Yeah. So I'm like pre-marketing all this stuff.
I guess maybe it becomes
is an advantage for sellers.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. Okay. I think the problem. Hold on. The problem is that it's not like we just started this today, right? There's already been an established practice that these things have been has been transparent and exposed.
Yes.
Now we're talking about hiding them now.
Yes.
Okay. So in that context, I think that's where the arguments come here right now.
Of course it is. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, just because something's been established for a long time doesn't make it right. You know,
you're right about that.
Yeah, I mean, Civil Rights Act, right? Fair Housing Act. It's been established for a real long time. We don't let certain types of people come into this neighborhood. We said, no, that's not cool. That's not fair. So that's not an argument. My point is simply that Zillow has taken the position, screw you sellers if you want that type of advantage. Now, Zillow might be doing it out of goodness of the heart. They're like, that is not fair to buyers. We're not going to tolerate
Zillow
that.
has a lot of rules, right? I mean, or the MLS has a lot of rules.
Yeah.
Hey,
so,
you know what? It may be advantageous that your house had 4 bedrooms, but you know what? We're going to have to – it actually has 3, so you're going to have to put down 3.
Okay, yeah. I mean, however you want to dice it, my point is what is good for the seller is typically not good for the buyer. What's good for the buyer is typically not good for the seller. Right, and the tension in the marketplace is between those two things.
Yeah, and you would hope that they got all the information to help them make that decision, for sure.
The buyer.
Yeah. Well, no,
but if you're the seller,
everybody. Yeah.
But if you're the seller, you don't necessarily. That doesn't help you.
Well, it may be like the buyer might want to turn my house into a crack house, and I really love my neighbors, and I really don't want that to happen, but they're not going to tell me that, so.
I mean, I'm just pointing out.
I mean, there could be everybody could hide something. Sure, yeah. On both sides.
Pointing out, if you're a seller, man, the less you have to disclose, the better off you are, right?
Sometimes, sure.
So, I'm just simply pointing out what Zillow's position is. We are pro-buyer. If Homes comes out and says we're pro-seller, it sets a very interesting market dynamic. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that means Homes wins.
Okay. Let me pull that string. So. I'm a buyer. I have the money.
Yes.
What side am I fucking going to? The one that's like for the seller or the ones that's for the buyer? Of course I'm going to the buyer one.
Of course you are. But
I have the money. I have the money.
this raises the most interesting dilemma question in my mind that I cannot wait to see how this resolves. Right? I can't wait because this has been one of these things that, forget real estate, right? Just generic e-commerce, generic internet, right? In a two-sided marketplace, which is more important, the buyer or the seller?
We need both. You need both to have a marketplace.
You need to have both. So I'm saying, which is more important?
Well, I mean, nothing happens until something's sold, right? So the buyer, right? I mean, he's got the money. If nothing's moving,
if there's nothing to buy,
yeah, okay,
right?
Well, again, okay, I understand the point you're trying to make.
The point, I don't know the answer, right? I don't know the answer. And Zillow came around at the birth of the internet, right? And they started by attracting buyer traffic, right? Because you remember they started with a Zestimate, right?
I don't think so. I think they just started by with really the seller traffic because everybody wanted to know what their home was worth.
They started with a Zestimate, got a huge amount of traffic, right?
Right.
And I happen to know that Zillow's first original business plan was to build an online auction site, like eBay, right?
Yeah, I've seen the thing on the wall there. Yeah.
But they didn't have any listings in the beginning. They just had estimates. They were just generating traffic, right?
Right.
And at some point they said, hey, we have all this traffic, put some listings on there, right? And then when they decide to monetize by selling buyer leads, like that's it. They have become pro-buyer, right? And that's fine. And then because the buyers were there, sellers went there. What I'm really interested to find out, right, is, like I said, which is more important in a two-sided marketplace, the buyer or the seller? Right.
What is it? He who has the cash is king, right? I mean,
Sure. On the other hand, if there's nothing to buy, buyers don't go there. And in that context, here's something, just a real question. I don't. Right? It's just a question because Sonny and I've been talking about this the last 24 hours, right? The last time you bought a house, right? Yeah. How many sites did you go to?
How many sites did I go to?
Or did you only go to Zillow?
I only went to Redfin, actually.
Only Redfin.
I just like Redfin's interface. So
sure.
Yeah.
So you only went to one website.
Yeah.
Because Sonny and I went to like 4, because we bought a cabin in Utah, right? Went to Zillow, went to Redfin, and went to Utah Real Estate, the MLS's own website. Mm-hmm. What's funny about that is both of us are obviously in the industry, right? We're actual experts. We're like, all of them source the data from the same place, which is Utah Real Estate, which is the MLS, right? And yet we went to all 3, right? And I thought about the last time you looked for a used. Have you ever bought a used car recently?
No.
Like in the last 10 years?
No.
Okay. I didn't buy one.
Well, I would say yes, but I mean, the used car that I bought was made in 1959, right?
Yeah, that's a classic. That's not really a used car.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I've been used car shopping because I had an interest in a 997 Porsche 911, right? And I got to tell you, man, I went to like 7 different websites.
Well, that's a whole different. I mean, especially 911s. Jesus, yeah.
But it's a used car, right? And what ends up happening is you go to enough sites and you see the same car over and over.
Yeah.
And over
It's syndicated. They syndicate it.
Because and yet I went to all of them because I wanted to see is there some website that has this car that I might be looking for.
Yeah, but Zillow has more listings. I mean, I read this somewhere.
Yeah.
If you did like a poll or a survey of the sites, like let's say in Southern California, there's a discrepancy in the number of listings there because Zillow's got the FSBO stuff. Sometimes it's commingled or not.
Yep.
Sometimes they have the new home sales or whatever.
Yep.
So there are reasons why to go to different sites. I mean, if you're really, really looking, right?
Agreed.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, they're not all the same a lot of times.
But given that, if Homes is able to position itself as we are the home of exclusive inventory, we're the home of these listings that Zillow will not take. It's not an advantage because buyers will go to both websites. They will go to, in fact, they'll go to 4. They'll go to 3, 4. Is that not, don't you think that's buyer behavior? Maybe I'm wrong, right? Because I've been talking to all my friends. Okay, like last time you bought a house.
But again, I see what you're saying, and sure, right? I mean, that's what Compass is doing right now, right? They're putting it on their website, and they're thinking you not only have to go to Zillow, but you have to go to us. I mean, it's just an extension of that strategy.
That's right.
The big thing in the room here is like is the way that we understood it before. there was never not a chance that it would if it didn't sell, it was going to go on Zillow. Now that's been taken off the table.
That's right. That's right.
And that's like a different. If you now have to say in the calculation that okay, we are the home of exclusive listings, and if you come here, you can never. If you have to tell a seller, but it'll never go on Zillow. That's a sea change. That I mean, that I don't know if they're ever going to get enough traction to make that strategy actually happen.
Sure. And then like I said, what's so fascinating about all this work, we're going to find out, right? If that listing agent is trying to pull the Compass strategy, then says, hey, Mr. Homeowner, when you bought this house, how many websites did you go to? And that homeowner says, well, I went to Zillow, I went to Redfin, I went to Realtor.com, right? And it's like, well, there you go. You went to all three. So you know what? We're going to put your house on the internet, on the portals.
But
just not
again,
Zillow.
Yeah, but again, all Zillow is going to do is just put it right on the table, right? And that's the traffic numbers, and
That's
say,
right.
well, yeah,
That's right.
you can. This is us,
Right.
This is them, and then
Greg,
this is them, right?
That's why I'm like leaning towards, right? I'm saying Zillow could absolutely win this, right? Like they are a powerful institution. To your point, they're Big Daddy now, right? Like NAR is the emperor with no clothes. Zillow's the new God King, right? And they just like, I like your belt. I use the sword. Like they laid the sword down on the table. All right, enough is fucking enough. Like I get that. So yes, I'm saying they could win. But I keep looking at like I said, and it's because like when I went looking for the used car, I'm like, but I use like 4 different used car sites. Even if I was seeing the same goddamn car over and over, because I wanted to see, is there something I'm missing?
Yeah.
That psychology might be way more important than we think. That's all I'm pointing out. I'm not taking anything away from Zillow's traffic numbers, their power. Of course they are, right? In any event, the second thing I'm really fascinated by.
Okay, we gotta
wrap
here.
I'll wrap with this, and I'll just make it a question, and because given our audience, I genuinely don't think the MLSs are going to be happy with this, right? Because maybe for this one, they're kind of like, oh, good, thank God Zillow came in and saved us, and we don't have to make this decision.
Yeah, I think we've heard from
a few who've said, oh, we don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But I think the MLS people are sensitive to who has the power. And this now makes it
Do you
seem
think
like,
that, yeah. But, okay, go ahead, sorry.
To me, this makes it like Zillow has the power now, not the local MLS.
Right. Okay. But I think that there's a sentiment there, right? That Zillow's had their back more than the NAR has for a long time now.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So
yes.
I think on one level it's like, thank God Dad came in here, and threatened to knock some sense into him. Right. I mean, again, it's about leadership, right? Somebody at least took a fucking leadership position here, because that's been all lacking, right? And sometimes the reason you can't make leadership decisions is because you tried to do that and you got sued out of existence and you're shy now, right? I mean, There's other reasons. I'm not saying a lot of times it's not that they lack the moral courage. It's just they lack the resource. They have to think of like all of them instead of just a subset of one. And again, that's also leadership, right? Of making those kind of choices.
Like I said, we got to wrap. I'm just going to leave it at, I'm really curious, and we should talk about it next time after you talk to more MLS leaders, because they're all your clients. Like, are you all happy with this? Because I know that those guys are real sensitive as to who has power, right? And this episode, to me, makes it pretty clear. Like you said, Zillow has the power. They're Big Daddy, right? Like, that is a fascinating outcome with all of this as well. But to your point, we should wrap. Thanks, everyone, for coming to our unannounced live Twitter live. This was kind of fun. Maybe we'll do this again. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye.